Okay, guys, we are here for try number 3. Third time's the charm, as they say. So I'm just going to wait for Shannon to hop on here, and then we are going to make this work. So, um, who am I here? Shannon? Oh my goodness, you guys, I am sorry. Technical difficulties or whatever. The second time I've ever tried to. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm adding her. This is going to be amazing. Doing it. Adding. Oh, it's going to work. There she is. Yay! We did
Yay,
it.
it worked. Let's do this.
Oh my God, that was so hard. Okay. Whew. Well,
It was worth it, though.
yeah, only 10 minutes late. Oh my God. But that's showbiz.
That's right. We fixed it. We figured it out. Let's do this. It's great.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I am just going to share this to my group, and you can share it wherever you want as well. So Shannon is would you call yourself a life coach or a relationship coach? You know what? You introduce yourself. I'll let you do that. You do it.
Okay, so, all right. Well, I'm Shannon Hudson, and my company or brand is Badass Lesbian Babe. So what I do is I work with women that, like during and after the transition of them dating, going from dating men to dating women. So basically, I went through that experience. So I wanted to help people because I didn't have anyone really there to guide me or to relate to or just really kind of listen to me, just talk about my experience. So I know that people needed it. So that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing it. So and then I also will work with women too, like after again, like after we've gone through that transition and, kind of just reconnect with themselves as well. Because a lot of times people, women especially, will lose themselves in just everyday life, like, yes, relationships and things, but just anything really, just women have a really hard time just staying true to who they are and taking care of themselves. So I want to help women do that too. And then once you do that, then you can go out and find that relationship that you've always dreamed of.
Right.
But, so you have to figure out who you are, especially in such a big transition and something that isn't talked about a lot. And there's really nothing out there for women going through that. So that's kind of my story.
Right. Well, that's awesome. It's kind of like you need to love yourself before you can be in a loving relationship kind of thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let's hop right in. I just think this is like the most appropriate topic for January 1st, just because you're like reflecting on the last year and just like, I'm just looking at it with like a total attitude of gratitude. So many things happened that at the time I was like, oh my God, but they turned out to be awesome. They were like the end of the world, but it all brought me to like the path that I'm on. So let's talk about gratitude. So I will let you take it away.
Okay, so I mean, gratitude, it's something that seems so simple when you think about it. It's like, okay, this happened and I'm grateful for it. Like let's take Christmas. You get, it's like, yay, I got gifts and, I'm grateful for that. It's so easy to find gratitude in the positive. So, you spend time with your family and you enjoy spending time with your family. You're grateful for that. And then, in situations where a lot of people, the holidays are a time of like tension and stress, and just because you're dealing with a lot of negative energy from other people. So it's really hard to find that gratitude in those situations. But something like that, it's like, well, you know what? I'm grateful for the challenges that the people in my life are providing me and the opportunity to learn how to deal with that, because life in general can be a real bitch. Sorry.
No, it's okay. We swear here.
Okay, good. Um, that is perfect because I might drop a few. So it's yeah, life really can be a bitch. So it's like you have to look for the positive in those situations. So, and a lot of it, what I try to do is I generally, when I'm looking at something that's negative, I'll look at it and say, well, I learned this from whatever. Like, about a year ago, one of my cats passed away. It's terrible. Like, I felt so guilty. Um, and it literally took me a few months to get past it. Like, I was crying all the time. It's really upsetting. And what I realized though is that in that situation, I found that um, there was a lot to be grateful for because of her health issues. We changed the cat foods we were using, that we used, and now the cats we still have four.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we love our cats a lot. Um, and so when we lost her, though, so we had like switched to the better food, and it just made us more aware of things. So I am grateful for that. She had a really good life. We had her for 10 years.
Hmm.
So there is things to be grateful for in that, but at the time it was like the worst
Yeah.
feeling. It was really terrible. I was crying all the time.
Hmm.
Super emotional, and it's just like it really sucks. So, but that was something that was so traumatic for me, and I went back and I looked at it and I can be grateful for it. And what I've found is that the more I show that I'm grateful for something, the easier it is to find that when that negative, like shitty stuff happens.
Hmm.
So, something like I can't think of anything at the moment exactly, but it's so much easier for me, like when something happens within like literally like minutes, sometimes seconds, I'm like, well, I've learned this from it, or at least this, this is happening and it'll lead to something else. So that's much easier. And part of the reason that that's become is, it's become so much easier for me, and I can just kind of go right into that without feeling that negativity at all, is every day what I do. And I do slip. I haven't done it the past couple days, but I've also been just kind of enjoying, like, Danny, my wife, took the whole week off, and Katerina had 2 weeks off from school. So, like, I was really just enjoying what was going on.
Hmm.
But I do write a list every day of things I'm grateful for. And I started just really simple. Like, I would just write a couple of things. I got a journal that was a gratitude journal from this company called Knock Knock Company, or Journals or something. And it was just funny. It had like quotes, and it really helped me get into it. And now I just write my own list. And yeah, now it's like I just start writing, and I'll fill an entire page of like my small notebook that I have.
Right.
So, and then I'll do like what I'm grateful for, things that are happening at the moment. And then I've started doing a couple other lists where I say things I'm grateful that, because things that are happening in the future that I'm manifesting, or just
Yeah.
kind of to put it out there, like I'm grateful for this. And then I do a list also of things that are going well, because it's really important to actually look at your life and find what you have to be grateful for and what's happening that's really um, that's just going well, things that you kind of just don't think about,
Hmm.
but you take that time to acknowledge it and appreciate it. So just showing gratitude, like, it really can, for me, when you show that, you just have more and more to be grateful for. So yeah, that's kind of like what I have to say. I'm sure there's other things, but like, do you have any questions or anything?
Well, do you have any like, yeah, I'll just like share this thing. So in August, I got fired from my full-time job. I was in marketing at a furniture company here in Canada, and I got fired for no reason. It was like termination without cause, so it's totally legal. They were just like, we don't want you anymore. See you later. And I like I was miserable there. I was so unhappy there, but I got fired and I was like, oh my God, like my life is over. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And my boyfriend was like, this is what you wanted. You didn't want to be there anymore. You were looking for a way out. You were going to do this thing on your own anyway. And I was like, but I got fired. Like, I got fired. Pity me. Like, this is the worst ever. And like, it ended up being exactly like what needed to happen. I'm very grateful that it happened. It was a toxic environment and my boss was the worst. But so like, do you have any like tips, I guess, for like coming out of that victim, like pity me, like, oh my God, this thing happened, and just like turning it around and just being like, this is just leading to something better. Like, is there I probably had like a 3-week turnaround period. Like, is there a way to make that shorter?
Um, that's actually a really good question. Because I was, and I still fall into it, but I was such a victim, and just, I mean, all the time, like everything was terrible, or it was, and it was somebody else's fault, or
Yeah.
just things sucked, like things, it seemed like nothing was going well. So, so one of the things that really did help me was starting to write writing the gratitude list. And again, like a lot of times people start out with like, I say at least start out with like 3 things. And now my list is like, sometimes I'm writing on the sides of my page.
Yeah.
So
That's good though. That's really good.
yeah, it's like, it's so much easier to find it. So I think that that right there is very important, and you have to practice that. I think also what helps though is kind of taking a moment to stop when you're in that situation, and and it is hard sometimes to like, be like, oh, like, what am I grateful for, when you're like crying, or when you're so angry, or just, you're just pissed. But what I think you should try to do as soon as you can, like once you calm down, and sometimes it's not terrible, but you still get like that frustrated, or you're flustered, is like, I like to just kind of chill for a minute, just take a few deep breaths, and then actually think about it and try to look at it from a different perspective. And so, but again, like nothing's really like a quick fix. It's taken me quite a while to do it. And I'm still working on it. But yeah, like the gratitude list, and just taking a moment to really like take a step back from that. And meditation's really great for that. And even just like, taking 5 minutes and just closing your eyes, and which you can do that you can really do that anywhere. You can take a couple of minutes, even if you can only take a minute, like do like this mini meditation where you can just calm yourself and then look at this from a different perspective. And sometimes it is helpful, like you said, your boyfriend was it? Yeah. How he was like, this is what you wanted, like this is what was supposed to happen, like everything really does happen for a reason. So talking to other people too, because I think a lot of times when you're in that victim mode, people tend to have a tendency to just, like want to just get it out a lot of times. Like I'm definitely like that. If something's going on, I generally will just talk and talk and talk just to get it out.
Me too.
Because it's like, oh, like you said, pity me, like poor me, like let me throw myself a little pity party.
Yeah.
And you want somebody to feel sorry for you. So when you're talking to somebody, it's nice to have someone that's like, shut the fuck up. Like this is what you wanted. And I totally can relate to that, because yeah, it's like when something happens in the moment, like it may seem like, you're just getting kicked right in the face. But like, you know what? The pain goes away after a minute. The bruise, will fade. But, like when that's going to heal, it's messy, and life can get messy after that. But finding that gratitude in it is just, it's going to help you get through it faster. So it really just comes down to showing that, and being able to also have someone like it's nice to be able to talk to someone and express what you're grateful for as well.
Right.
So yeah, so I really definitely like for me, like really the biggest thing was doing that list and then just being able to look back at things with that different perspective. Um, so I've gotten better at doing that myself, but a lot of times when you're beginning, it does help talking to someone else
Yeah.
because it's hard to get out of that mindset. Like it really is. Like I was in that victim mode for years
Oh.
and
Huh.
like I said, like I still fall back into that, but it's okay because as you go through life, as long as you're willing to continuously grow, then it's just you're not in the same place. So there's always something to feel like a victim about. Like there's always going to be issues,
Yeah.
but that time, as time goes on, that's going to be a shorter and shorter amount of time. So it's just like when your business grows or something and you had a problem, like at this level where you were making like less than $1,000 a month, and then up here where you're making a 10K month, you've got a whole different set of
Yeah.
problems. So you're always going to have that where there's problems and you're going to fall into that victim mode. But seeing the gratitude in that, writing your list, like meditating on it, and just taking that time to realize. And sometimes what I'll do too is I'll actually do like the guided gratitude meditations,
Yeah.
which is really nice because, doing your own sometimes you just need to be guided a little bit.
It's
For
just
me, like,
easier. It's easier than
it
trying to
is.
like get in the headspace and be like, you're grateful for everything. I'm like, just let somebody else tell me. I got it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice to be able, it's nice to be able to do stuff like that. Um, but yeah, like, I'm just like, I can't think of like really any other tips because like gratitude, it is such an easy thing to show.
Hmm.
Um, so there's not really like too much, I guess, that you can do. Um, I think also something about gratitude as well is I like to give people something to be grateful for. So I like to spread that gratitude to other people. So that can help as well because um like and sometimes people don't necessarily want to hear it. Like I'll be talking to my wife and she'll be in like this mood or whatever, like she'll come home from work or whatever and she's like, I just want to talk. She's like, I don't want you to be like, oh, be grateful for this and be grateful for that. um so there's times where it's not, but at the same time then there's other moments where people like it's like they need to hear that, they
Yeah.
need to be reminded of it. And by doing that, like, I'm grateful that I can share that knowledge and that experience and be able to pass that on to people and give them, because that's like a gift to be able to be grateful for things. Because even though it's really easy, like in our culture, it's not something that's practiced a lot.
Yeah.
So, which is which is really sad. That
Mhm.
it's something that's just kind of glossed over. It's everything's focused on the negative. um, I'm sure there's many, many positive things to look at with like politics and and all these things that like people don't want to talk about, and I'm not a fan. I don't want to talk about them either. but um, but there's positive. But I mean, really, there's positives everywhere. There's things to be grateful for in every situation, even though like no matter how dire or um, depressing or stressful the situation
Yeah.
is, like when I'm somewhere and I get all anxious or whatever, like I still can find something to be grateful for in that. It's
Yeah.
hard at the moment, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it. But sometimes, but again, like the more you practice it, when you're in that moment, sometimes like it is easier to actually remove yourself. And once you do that and acknowledge that, um, whether it's like a fear of something or you have that anxiety, whatever you're feeling, once you acknowledge that and you're like, okay, like I'm grateful for that, or I'm grateful that I'm learning this, it's like it kind of like relieves that feeling. Um, and just kind and it just, you can enjoy yourself or you can kind of get past it. It's easier. Um,
So you have to want to not be in victim mode, basically, because it takes like it takes purposeful thought and action to like not be a victim, right? And
Yeah.
I'm so lucky to have my boyfriend is who he is, because when I'm like, listen, I'm having a pity party right now, he's like, no, you're fucking not. Like, take that shit out of here. This is not happening. He just has no fucking time for it. So if I'm like being ridiculous and I go talk to him, I know that I'm not going to get any pity there. I need people like that though, because if I just go to like my best friend, she'll be like, oh my God, that sucks. That's the worst. And I'm just like, it does suck. It is the worst. So I need him around.
Right. Well, yeah, because it's like when there's certain people where it's like you kind of just feed off each other. So you just feed right into that story. So you've got this story that you're constantly telling yourself. You're like, oh, I'm a victim. Like all these things have happened to me. Poor me. And I have friends like that. I know people where you're talking and they're like, oh my God, yeah, like I totally get it. You know, like that's happened to me. Like, oh, that must suck. And yeah, it's like you said, you're just like, yeah, no, it totally does. Like they're like affirming what you're saying. And so yeah, to have somebody just like kind of like slap you, you know, and just
Yeah.
be like, stop it. Like
Yeah.
you really do need that. And you're right though, it's you have to have this mindset of being like of acknowledging and realizing you're in that victim mode. So a lot of it too has to like actually you have to come to this realization and then make that decision, that conscious decision to actually want to change.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're just going to be in that mode. And there's times where, because I have depression and anxiety, so like I'll fall into this like where I just don't want to do anything, and you know, life sucks and everything's terrible. And I do struggle when I'm in that to find the gratitude there. But but that is also getting easier. So so it is like when you make that decision to be grateful, there's always going to be things that are kind of thrown in your way that you have to get past.
Mm-hmm.
And which really can be hard to do. Yeah. But what I will say though about like, you know, sometimes you need to kind of have that, like take that moment and have that like pity party, because sometimes it's like you have to take a moment, you know, like it is okay to like be weak and kind of fall into that and just like feel it for a little while, mm-hmm. but you don't want to stay there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all really goes to acknowledging that, because when you just let yourself feel that instead of pushing it down, that's something in itself to be grateful for, because you're allowing yourself to feel that and to get past it, and you know, kind of realizing that it's okay to feel that way.
Yeah.
And because when you're pushing it down, like it doesn't matter what it is, if you're not expressing it or getting it out, like it's, you know, it's hurting you, yeah. Even though you may not, you know, realize it. So
yeah. Acknowledge it. Hello, I see you. Thank you. Next.
You're right. Exactly. like, thanks for the message. I got it. You're good. Like, see you next time. Because, you know, it's going to pop up, but it's going to happen less and less as you continue to acknowledge and then show what, you know, find whatever you can be grateful for in that situation. So, yeah, it's all about looking at the situation, kind of assessing it, and, you know, and not like examining it or critiquing it to the point where you're, you know, tearing your hair out. It's, yeah. You know, look at it real, you know, quickly, as objectively as you can from whatever perspective, you know, try to look at it differently, and then just, you know, just let it go. Really, just take it right. Take that, you know, it's like try to take that thought, like in Harry Potter where he like pulls the thought out of his head. Like, it's like you kind of wish you could just like do that, you know, just be like, all right, all the negative thoughts just gone.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, really, it's like almost kind of try to envision that where you see it, you've lived it, and then you're just going to forget it.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, because you don't want to dwell on it. It's never a good thing to do
Yeah, for sure.
because that's going to drag you down.
So, gratitude lists. I think I'm going to make that a goal to make a daily gratitude list. I think that would be really positive in my life, and everyone who's watching should do it as well.
I completely agree. I do. And it's like, and honestly, like starting anywhere, like, write down a couple of things every day. Like when you wake up in the morning, I try to do it in the morning. Sometimes that doesn't work out. So I do it whenever. Instead of being like, oh, well, I missed it this morning, I'm just going to skip it until tomorrow. It's like do it whenever you can, you get that time. And it's like do whatever feels good, whatever works for you. Because
like
everybody's
positive
different.
Way to like start your day. It's like,
yeah.
I have a journal beside my bed that I do not currently use for that, but I could.
Right?
I feel like you wake up and you're like, what am I grateful for today? I don't know, my daughter, my awesome boyfriend, my dog, whatever. Just write those down, and then you start your day in like this like super high vibe mindset. Like,
yeah,
that sounds great.
yeah. Yeah, and it's like if you think about it, like 3 things to be grateful for, it's so easy. Like you just like named those off, like it just like rolled off your tongue because
just the people who live in my
it's
house.
like right, exactly. I'm like, okay, I'm grateful for my cats. There's like 4 things.
Wow.
Right. And it's like, and I'm grateful for my wife and my daughter, and my family, and just, yeah, so it's really easy just to kind of just get it out. And some people do struggle, but when you write down those like very obvious things that are in your life, you start doing that, and then you see like throughout your day, it really does help. It changes the entire perspective of your day because I notice when I don't do it, like it really does change how I look at my day because I start off with, on the days that I'm writing it with just like, yeah, everything's awesome. Like this is going well. And I love everything over here. Like this is great. And when you don't do that, you're just not that high vibe. It's kind of like, yeah, it's morning, you're kind of like doing whatever. But yeah, getting that out, and it feels good. I really, really like it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome. Well, I mean, I don't really have any more questions for you unless you have any huge statement you've been saving.
Not really. Just, kind of just to reiterate
This is
that,
live, guys.
right, yeah, it's very, very live. Basically, you don't want to focus on the negative. You want to be grateful for every experience because there's always something to be grateful for. You can always learn from something. And in situations where you get fired or, like I was kicked out of a business that I was an owner of, and we were miserable there, fucking miserable. But, and then, and it was, but we had reasons we didn't want to leave, and then it was like, oh, you're kicked out. And it was like, there was moments like screaming and just like anger, but oh my God, they did us such a favor. Like,
yes.
We needed that push. So experiences like that, the one you had with your job and like what I had, they are not something you look at and you're like, oh, that was like the best experience ever. Let's do it again. But you can look at it and be like, I'm grateful for this because, like I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, like that you were supposed to be at your job when you were there. It taught you something.
Yeah.
And then you moved on from that. And it was the same thing for me. So just find that positivity and that thing, even if it's the smallest thing, like pull it out of whatever situation that you can be grateful for. Because there is always just like even that tiniest glimmer of something to be grateful for. Always. So.
Awesome. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. And
oh, absolutely. This was really fun.
Yeah. And Good. And we laughed, and I love that. I love that we laughed.
I know. Yeah, it was really nice. Thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate it. Like, it was an absolute like honor to be on here. So, and especially like the first one
Yeah.
and first day of the year. So, yay! It was awesome.
I'm going to share it on YouTube and Instagram. I'll send you the link, and we can just share it all over the world, and we'll become famous.
Amen. Yes, we will.
Yay! Okay, awesome. Well, I will talk to you later then. Thank you so much for hopping on with me.
Absolutely, Rachel. You have an awesome day and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year! Hey, bye-bye.